What a roller coaster of emotions in this game tonight. I feel like there has to be some crazy firsts that happened tonight when you just look at this game purely from it being a game of runs standpoint. There were two 20-0 runs from both teams. Both teams had multiple double-digit and 0 runs. The Bulls were up by as many as 19 in the second quarter and then found themselves down by 17 with less than 5 minutes to go in the game. If you guys follow me on Twitter, obviously I expressed my frustrations throughout the game. But when the Bulls were down 17 after I believe Gary Trent Jr. sunk in another 3, I tweeted that I hate this team. And then I had to follow it up with, I love this team by the end of it, because what an incredible comeback win. When you thought that they were going to be going down 0-2, heading to Detroit, to have it be another bad loss would have just been brutal for this team. You thought it was over, but no, the Bulls powered through. They kept fighting, kept pushing, could have and probably should have won it in regulation, but I'm not going to blame DeMar DeRozan because he more or less single-handedly brought the Bulls back in this one. But the Bulls get the win regardless on a huge shot from Alex Caruso, from a great feed from Zach to give the Bulls their first win of this season. Now here's the thing, this wasn't that great of a game for the Bulls. It was better than the game they had against OKC because the defense was substantially better, but still from an offensive perspective, a very poor shooting game. 37% from the field, they shot 8 for 39 from 3, still getting those threes up by the way, which is funny because I keep harping on how the Bulls aren't going to shoot it this poorly every night in the game against Oklahoma City Thunder, and sure enough, they come out and actually shoot it worse from deep than they did in that game. They had 16 turnovers and only 18 assists. Talk about an atrocious assist to turnover ratio, and look, the Bulls gave up way too many runs to the Raptors. Started out the game 18-4, I believe it was. They quickly got a big lead and then let the Raptors flip the script and get a big lead themselves. So yes, overall, it wasn't the best performance. But you know what I care about most, and it makes up for the poor showing on offense, well, obviously getting the win, but it's that they fought through adversity. They didn't hang their heads that they completely blew a massive lead. They didn't start whining and pointing fingers at each other that they were all but going to lose this game down 17 in the fourth quarter. Hell, they could have very well just given up after that horrible start when the Raptors were up 18-4. We've seen them do that before. They did that last year. And they did it last night when the Thunder started going on a run late in the game. And the Bulls just didn't respond. Tonight, they responded. DeMar DeRozan said pregame, I can guarantee you we won't let that happen again. Where we just come out flat and then just don't play with effort down the stretch. He meant what he said. He led the Bulls back into this game and got them the win. Like I said, he missed some pretty critical free throws, including the game-winning one that would have ended in regulation, but DeMar did what he had to do and start taking over the fourth quarter. Like, as much as we always say, DeMar, his style of offense doesn't work. He relies too much on iso ball, slows down the offense, guys stand around and just watch him, including myself, by the way. I've said this on multiple occasions, and I still believe all that to be true depending on the flow of the game and the circumstances for what's going on around the team. But when the Bulls need someone to take over, because what they're doing on offense isn't working, and they need a Hail Mary from someone to try to somehow get them to turn around a big deficit late in the game when they really need a win, that's when you call DeMar's number and have him do his thing. Might not always be pretty, but he got the job done tonight, scoring the majority of the Bulls' final points as well as those in overtime, including that big drive to the basket when the Raptors were up 4 with less than 30 seconds. And then, of course, the Bulls got to stop. Zach Lavine had that fast break drive to the basket and had that incredible pass that kick out to Alex Caruso for the go-ahead bucket, which, by the way, that was a heads-up play by Zach Lavine. I mean, for someone who didn't have a good game at all, made some bad decisions on the court throughout this one, missed some critical shots. I was wincing when he was coming down the court with the ball because I thought, oh my God, he's going to botch this. What's he going to do? He knew that he was being contested, and while yes, he likely could have drawn the foul, it's not a for sure thing that it's going to get called. So he finds an open AC, and AC knocks down the biggest shot in his Bulls tenure to date. But yeah, man, what a game. What a game. The Bulls really needed this win too. Like, it's weird to say that you really need a win in the second game of the season, but coming off that bad loss to Oklahoma City for their season opener in front of the home crowd, and then knowing you've got a back-to-back when you're traveling to Detroit, a scrappy young team that is full of energy, going there 0-2 would not have been good. Now, as for some of the callouts from this game, aside from what I already talked about, first and foremost, the Bulls need to start Torrey Craig. I mean, normally I'm one of those guys that would say, well, give it some time. You just started trying this starting lineup out. Nope, it's not working. I'm still a Pat believer, but he needs to come off the bench. The Bulls started off the game horribly. The second they brought in Torrey Craig and Alex Caruso, that completely turned the game around. Now, I'm not saying that's all on Patrick Williams, because it's not. Clearly, the starting five isn't a good lineup together, but not only did you see the results from the start of the game, but then you saw the exact same thing happen at the start of the third quarter. Those first five guys put the Bulls in a hole. The second unit brought them out of it and gave them a big advantage, and then Billy went with that same group to start the third quarter, and they blew the lead. Just like that. So yes, Torrey Craig should be starting. I doubt Billy Donovan actually does that. He's probably going to give it a few more games because it might be viewed as too reactionary of a decision, but it's pretty clear to me as day what needs to be done. Billy barely played Pat, by the way. Only 13 minutes, not a good 13 minutes for Patrick Williams. He got himself some nice looks here and there, but couldn't knock down his shots and had some bad turnovers where he was playing on the ball and trying to create for himself and like bouncing it off of his foot. Vucevic, also not the best game for him either. Still hasn't been able to find that stroke from deep. Shot 1 for 5 from 3. He was also missing a lot of easy buckets around the basket. Was 4 for 15 from the floor overall. But he was great on the glass tonight, securing 12 rebounds to go along with 11 points. And then, of course, Zach just wasn't his night again, which again, so odd after what we saw from the preseason when he looked so smooth and effortless in getting to the basket and looking locked in throughout the preseason. 8 points tonight. 8 points, 0 for 6 from 3. He's the Bulls' best three-point shooter. Need him to be hitting those shots. But the guys who had the best games tonight were Alex Caruso, Torrey Craig, and DeMar DeRozan. And actually, I should throw in Coby White because while Coby struggled a bit with his shot, he still finished the game with 17 points, 8 assists, and 6 rebounds. His shot wasn't falling, but he was doing other things to impact the game. And his overall court vision and passing was much more on point tonight than it was against the Thunder, and his defense was considerably better. But DeMar, I mean, we know what he did, brought the Bulls back into the game, finished with 33 points, but Torrey Craig and Alex Caruso were the unsung heroes in this game. Again, those were the two guys that were first subbed into the game for Patrick Williams and Zach Lavine when the Bulls got off to that horrendous start, and turned the energy around, picked the effort back up, and rather than letting the Bulls just give up in the first quarter, they were the ones that sparked the energy to get the crowd and the team back into it. Alex Caruso, I mean, aside from that game winner, dude was a plus 29 on the night for the Bulls, a plus 29. By comparison, Zach Lavine was a minus 23. Caruso got himself his 6th double-double of his career with 13 points and 13 rebounds to go along with 2 steals and a block and 0 turnovers. His energy and getting the guys fired up was just as big of a catalyst as DeMar was in that fourth quarter in that final stretch. I mean, box scores don't show up deflections and those hustle plays that you always see him do when he's on the court. But the way Alex Caruso was getting into the passing lanes, disrupting the flow of offense, drawing charges, he was a big reason why the Raptors had 21 turnovers in total tonight. Without Alex Caruso, the Bulls don't win this game. Huge, huge night for him. And now the Bulls are in the win column, hoping to keep that going, taking on the Pistons tomorrow night, which they were the worst team in the league last season. They're a young, rebuilding team, but you can't take them lightly. They're a talented young team that is going to come ready to play and has something to prove. I'll obviously have a video out after the game, so be on the lookout for that. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.